The next exercise progression in this strength training to improve bone health series is the deadlift. Deadlift is a fantastic exercise, adds a lot of compressive and axial load down through the spine to the hips and lower extremity. Again, very good for improving overall bone health, but needs to be done properly. Slightly different position than the squat, which I showed a second ago, but a couple different ways, just like I mentioned before. Again, increasing the intensity of the movement as your body starts to adapt to it. So just starting where you feel like you need to be, starting in a slow and comfortable way, and then progressing as you start to get the movement, as you start to increase the intensity. At a certain point, again, we want to make sure the reward is greater than the risk. So depending on your history when it comes to strength training, we can continue to load the bar with a lot of weight, but at a certain point you might want to move to different plyometric movements to make sure we're not putting anyone in an uncomfortable position to load but then create some kind of injury when they're unsupervised or not performing the exercise correctly. So just to show you the deadlift, a couple different ways I like to progress through this, from a 1 dumbbell deadlift, 2 dumbbell deadlift, to a barbell deadlift. Movement is identical. It's exactly the same. Nothing changes in terms of the movement, which is why I see a lot of people, once they get to the barbell or trap bar deadlift, see a lot of success, is because they've been doing the same exact movement for typically months at that point, and they're very proficient at how to perform the deadlift. So they get there and they're just holding a different piece of equipment, but their body is really just kind of in tune with how to perform the movement. So like I mentioned before, axial or compressive load. So as I hold the weight here, starting to pull and compress down from the shoulders, the spine, pelvis, hips, all the way down to that lower extremity. Again, gravity as well as acting in that direction. What I want to do here is bend the knees, butt back, kind of get the body over this dumbbell. Dumbbell is in between, right in between the sneakers there, kind of right towards the ball of the foot. And I always want to make sure I'm maintaining my posture. My back is nice and flat, and I'm sitting down into the legs. But you can see my chest is down facing in front of me, rather than in a squat position where I'm really upright this way. Again, as I showed some of those squat variations earlier, it's a slightly different position with the deadlift. So getting down here nice and low, back is flat, good posture, driving up legs and then forward through the hips, control as I lower down. Again, depending on where or what your current level of strength and overall bone density is, you need to find where you fit into this progression. So if you're someone that's an experienced lifter, most likely this is going to cause any significant improvement in terms of bone mineral density. But if you're someone who has never lifted before, adding the 1 dumbbell deadlift could be a very good step to start to load the bones in a healthy and progressive way. So doing anything to start lightweight, anywhere from 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions. Again, we can start to go with a single dumbbell deadlift. I got a 35 right here. I can start going 45, 50, 55, 60, whatever's comfortable to hold to start to build a little bit more intensity on top of that, because we want to increase the load as we go. At a certain point, I find it's often a little bit more challenging to hold 1 really heavy dumbbell than it is to hold 2 lighter ones by your side. So I was doing 35 before, 2 35s here, so now 70 pounds as opposed to 35 pounds. The movement is identical. So as I grab those dumbbells, and I make sure back is nice and flat, I'm lifting the weights up off the ground and setting up in a healthy position. Knees bent, butt back, sitting down into it, drive up and forward, throw at the hips. So now a little bit more load. As you can see, 70 pounds acting to pull me down. Always want to make sure I'm maintaining a nice flat back, and I'm using that lower body to create the movement, never moving through the spine as I create the movement here. Again, twice the load, or the ability to load more in a comfortable way to then take that next step. Same thing, 2 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 repetitions. As I feel more comfortable, I want to increase that weight as much as I can, even if that means dropping down repetitions. Again, anywhere from 4 to 8 repetitions. As long as we're increasing load and we're seeing that progression of we're making this movement harder, that's what we want to continue to improve bone mineral density. Next step here, going from dumbbells to barbell. So very big next step for a lot of people, and a step not many take, because a little bit more intimidating here when you get to some of the barbell exercises. But if you've been working on that 1 dumbbell, 2 dumbbell deadlift, typically I'll work on those for anywhere from 2 to 6 months, really, depending on the person, to slowly build them up to a more loaded movement like this. And the weight might not even be heavier. So that, say, was 70 pounds with 2 dumbbells in the end. What if I only put 70 pounds on the bar? So I'm not introducing more load, but I'm changing how they're performing the movement. Again, a different piece of equipment. Then I'm, from there, able to take a nice, slow, progressive approach to increasing weight reducing repetitions from there. So just to show the traditional deadlift, again, from here, feet about, we'll say traditional style versus sumo, should be wider, a little bit more toe out. Feet about hip width or slightly wider. I'm trying to get that bar right in front of the shins. Again, sitting back into the hips, let my body hinge forward so I'm over, kind of facing the ground in front of me. And then from there, I'm trying to kind of tension up into the back, keep my back nice and flat, and then drive forward through the hips to stand, control, lower down. Okay, so that bar is right in front of me. I don't want to reach out in front. It increases the stress on the lower back and lumbar spine. But there you can think of right now, this is 135 pounds. So as I stand with this weight, all that force is compressing down into the kinetic chain. So we get quite a bit of compressive forces. Very good strength training exercise. The same thing, start 2 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 repetitions. Increase resistance, start to back down the repetitions just a little bit to match that. And from there, I think you find a very helpful series of exercises to help stimulate bone mineral density.